I have a vision for what I want to achieve. So that kind of helps to drive me. Although it might be tiring, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to get to this end goal. If I believe I can do it, I can do it.
My name's Amos Mukombero. Right now I'm here with the amazing Annarrah.
You're watching Local Insiders Digital Jobs. We spoke with digital industry professionals in Camden, Hackney, Islington and Tower Hamlets to understand their different pathways to finding digital jobs. Amos Mukombero in conversation with Annarrah Gordon, presented by Lift and Good Growth Hub.
Annarrah, tell me about your job, what it is that you do and how you best describe that.
I work in a startup as a project manager, and although my role is a project manager, I do many different things. So that could include designing, that could be looking at API documentation and trying to figure out the logic of what we want our platform to, how we want it to run. It could be project management tasks such as looking at where the development is with the devs and just making sure it's kind of on track to finish on time. Sometimes it could be looking at how we get more funding, customer service, literally a whole variety of stuff.
What would you say are your top 3 essential skills for your job? Like what 3 essential skills do you think are the most important?
I think one of the biggest one is communication. Communicate what needs to be done to different people and break that down so you know exactly what's being built and understood, because you can kind of explain something to one person and then later on stuff is getting built and then you realise, okay, it wasn't done properly or whatever. So communication is like one of the top ones. Being proactive, one of the big things for us is, again, because it's such a small team that needs to do a lot of things, being able to be proactive and kind of think ahead of what help another person might need, or kind of exploring the different avenues of how you can get the same job done in the quickest way possible is like a very key skill, especially working in a startup. The last one I would say is being creative, not allowing traditional ways of doing stuff kind of dumb down how you can get things done. There's so much new technology out there nowadays. You can find an easier way to do something. So just being creative and problem solving on your feet is like one of the biggest things. So yeah, I would say those are the 3.
Great 3 things. I can resonate with a lot on that in terms of being a startup. Tell me about some recent projects that you worked on. What's been your favourite?
One of the roles that I do is investigating and finding out why things are not working. So I really enjoy figuring out how things work. So I never knew anything about coding or anything before I started this role. And now I understand how to read APIs, what they do. Just being able to learn on the job about how tech works, and even with the APIs I've learned how websites, how a dashboard is put together. So yeah, that's really exciting, not knowing anything at all to learning on the job when there's problems, I'm figuring out, oh okay, this does that and that does that and that's why this doesn't work. For me, that's the most exciting, I would say.
How have you managed to keep your tech skills current?
Literally, if I have a question, I type it into Google. You've now got OpenAI, ChatGPT. That has been a game changer. That gives you like very specific things that you need, especially when it comes to coding. Yeah, ChatGPT, YouTube and Google, really. Yeah.
Nice. Do you have any hobbies that you're interested that are related to your work and that have also helped you with your work?
So for me, I'm really interested in business. I'm always listening to audiobooks as well as reading on YouTube, just watching other people, how they've developed their business. To be honest, most of my time is working on the startup. I would say that's also my hobby. It's kind of like intertwined now, work and just life.
What's the name of the startup and what's the startup about?
The startup's called Checkboard, and we basically do background checks on people that are doing property checks. But the platform's been built in a way that any industry can use our platform. So if you are doing high value transactions and you need to make sure you're complying to regulations to make sure you check that person is allowed to do this transaction, a house is high value, we basically ensure that the person is who they are and that they have got their money from legitimate sources, and that's how we help businesses stay compliant.
With your career, have you ever faced any challenges? If so, how have you overcome them?
I would say for me, when I started working, being like ethnic minority, sometimes you feel a bit out of place and you might feel like, oh, maybe I'm not allowed to do that or whatever. But I realised that's my mindset. That's the thing that's holding me back. So I just looked at it in a different way and thought, you know what, if I want to do that thing, you kind of set your mind to it. You know, if there's an opportunity, just, apply or upskill yourself to be able to take on that opportunity. So that's always been my thing. So although there's challenges, it's just, to me, it's not really a challenge. It's, how can I look at it differently to get past that?
And when it comes to your personal life and your work life, is there any advice you could give on how to best manage that time?
Sometimes I probably don't take my own advice, knowing when to take a break and kind of just switching off. Again, my mum has been supportive and she booked me a trip to Disneyland with my son. It was his birthday. She was going to go with him and she was like, you know what, you should go. And that I was able to just kind of forget about everything else and kind of had fun with him out there. When I came back, I was like, oh, I actually really needed that. So sometimes learning how to switch off, and just in general, even if you have work and life separately, sometimes you need to just do something different, just to like give yourself a fresh pair of eyes on, the way you're doing stuff in life.
I'm super curious to know, as a mum that is upskilled in a whole new career, upskilling, educating yourself, and also working. I'm presuming it's probably full time as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
What's that like?
My network, I have my grandma who also helps me. I have a vision for what I want to achieve, so that kind of helps to drive me. Although it might be tiring, I'm just like, okay, I'm going to get to this end goal. Just continue to pursue, again, mindset. If I believe I can do it, I can do it.
Oh, incredible. How old is your son, if you don't mind me asking?
He's 5 and I've got a daughter that's 2 years old as well.
What? That's incredible. Like, you're so inspiring because I love how you're so focused and you're so driven to, push yourself. Is there something that you've discovered whilst you've been working that not a lot of people thought about, like a misconception about what you do as a project manager?
One of the biggest misconceptions I've seen, just even in terms of hiring people, is that a lot of people think you need to know it all. There's this whole thing of, doing things right, not getting it wrong. Or there's a lot of people that I've heard when they talk is like, oh, I don't have a degree, or nothing is holding you back. It's just, again, back to mindset. What limitations are you putting on yourself that's blocking you from doing what you want? So we've hired a lot of people that, they haven't got a lot of experience working, but just their passion and their drive to learn, to grow and to help the business and kind of get a return at the end, from having shares in the company means that when the company gets sold, you're going to have, leave with a nice amount of money. So that drive means that compared to someone that has a degree, someone with a degree kind of might think they know it all and they're not using innovative ways to overcome challenges. You don't get to better outcomes. So someone that is willing to learn and just figure it out as they go along, you're going to be more innovative. You realise that you can build something a lot better than being very restrictive in your thinking.
I just wanted to ask you, if I wanted to get into your career path, what advice would you give me?
Keep learning as you learn, figure out what you like and don't like, and whatever you like, lean into that more, and then just develop yourself from there, really.
If someone asked you why they should get into your industry or sector, what would you tell them?
Why? I think especially tech is like the new thing. A lot of the stuff we use in this day and age is built on tech, and it just means that your world expands. So yeah, get into tech really. It's the place to be.
This video has been presented by Lift and Good Growth Hub, supported by Mayor of London, in partnership with Camden, Hackney, Islington and Tower Hamlets Borough Councils. Creative direction and visuals by Walk with Amos and Usman Dare. Lift supports people from underrepresented backgrounds living in Camden, Hackney, Islington and Tower Hamlets to find jobs and training in the tech, creative and science sectors. For more information, visit www.liftfutures.london.